Hi, this is Ben Roberts, lead convener and host of the Now What Global Gathering on the art of being fully human in a time of crisis. Welcome to the fourth of 6 weeks of the gathering. I'm going to record this short video to give you a bit of an update on what took place last week, what's happening this week, and what's taking shape over the remaining second half of the gathering in general. But first, I want to just extend my condolences to someone who's been a part of the convening and hosting of Now What, who lost a close family member recently. And my sense is that that's not the only such story that's out there. And know that this is a time of great challenge for people, both because of the health crisis and the economic crisis that we're facing. And that it's also a time of opportunity, a time when new things are becoming possible, when new behaviors are manifesting themselves in all kinds of ways. And there is this concept of disaster collectivism that's emerged over recent years, that suggests that not only do in some cases, the worst of our natures and the most destructive elements of our systems, particularly economic and uh, systems of power and control. Those can come out in the wake of disaster, but the best of us also can surface, and there are opportunities present to us now within Now What and beyond to support that. So last week, a number of things took place that were some highlights in Now What. Among them was the second of our field trips to Changing the Climate, a field trip to the University of Saskatchewan to see presentations from 11 students in a course on art and climate change. The recording of that is now up on the Now What YouTube channel and can also be found through the blog posts on Now What. Here we are looking at the invitations blog, and this is the entry about that. Other engagement streams are continuing to move along. The Bridges That Go Everywhere had its second call last week. Prophecy of the Great Brightening is continuing on its twice-a-week rhythm. The Journeys into the More Beautiful Worlds Our Hearts Know is Possible is continuing on its weekly rhythm, as is the Beyond Us gathering that I don't believe has a blog post, but can be found on the calendar. The Show Must Go On is happening on Thursdays in the cafe, and the cafe and the party calls are also continuing regularly. One engagement stream that launched last week that's new is the collaborative funding for Leap Forward, responding to today's COVID moment. And this is an invitation for anyone who's interested in how philanthropy and impact investing can respond in the vein of the disaster collectivism paradigm that I mentioned just a few minutes ago. We also had, if you look at the Now What calendar, a couple of other things have been added here. We have now some morning meditations, two of them. Love meditation for Gaia that's taking place on Mondays, coming from Joanna in Portugal, and on Wednesdays, it's Thursday mornings in Australia where Joy Foley is, Wednesday evenings for me here on the US East Coast, and different times for others, of course, is a morning meditation at Peace Valley where you can join Joy and the birds as they awaken in the bush in Australia. Coming up this week, we also have some new streams that are launching. Very excited that Rachel Weaver and Peter Whitehouse are offering leading students their environmental roots by exploring trees, which is a climate change conversation and also response to the COVID crisis, and it's intergenerational. And then from Mark Thibault, we have Indigenous Voices, Are We Listening? So those are going to be on a repeating basis as we go forward. There are 3 calls for the Indigenous peoples. The first is this Thursday for those of us in the US and Europe, and then continues on the next 2 Mondays. And the other one, the intergenerational class, Environmental Roots, that is going to be on Mondays and Thursdays for the next 3 weeks. So I encourage you to head over to the invitations blog and check out those two and join those calls, and perhaps invite some others that might be interested. 2 really exciting offerings that have just emerged from some Now What Collective members. Another thing that's starting to take shape now, that I'm very excited about, is a whole cohort of people with some plans for Earth Day, which is April 22nd, the week after this one. We don't have a lot of time to organize, but there's quite a bit of energy forming around the theme of a sonic spring, as opposed to the silent spring that Rachel Carson so famously wrote about back in the 1960s. That now we can celebrate the sounds of nature that are still with us and the way in which sound can offer healing and a path towards the preservation and regeneration of our ecosystems as well. And so a whole set of activities looks to be coming together for Earth Day. Please stay tuned for some more about that. And if you want to get involved, you can email info@nowwhat2020.com or go over to the Slack channel, the Slack workspace for Now What, and join the Sonic Spring conversation there. And if you are a user of Slack and you haven't been into that space, I've now added this on the homepage where you can click here to either join or go into that workspace and get into some conversation with people that are planning and organizing. And I think with that, let's see. So the Now What network map is something else where there's some new stuff going on. Just want to take you over here for a second. So many of you have seen this main view of the map, which you can see is also growing quite a bit and a lot more connections are being made there. And just a reminder that the orange connections mean that somebody wants to meet you. Here, for example, is Joanna Rebelo, who's doing that Gaia meditation. And she's indicated with the orange that there are many people she wants to meet. The blue are people that have now met her, and the gray would be people that you have connections to. And most of you have put up profiles on the map as well, as we see that Joanna has done here. There's quite a bit of information you can offer if you wish, and encourage those of you who have not yet done so to go ahead and do that with the personal link you have to the network mapping interface. We also have a new view that's emerged on the network map now. This has been a while in coming, and great thanks to Jim Best, our master mapper, for putting this together. So this is a way to visualize the different engagement streams that are taking place through Now What, as well as home groups and some of the Now What partners. And as with any map view, you can search on it here. So for example, or you can just find something and click on it and focus. So here's the Liberating Responses to COVID-19 engagement stream. Has a brief description here. Some of these might have a longer one. And these are people who've already expressed an interest in participating in that. If you haven't gone to this section of the network map interface, I'll show you how to do that in a minute, and you can let the people who are organizing these various engagement streams know. Some of the new ones I just mentioned are now up here. For example, here's Indigenous Peoples, Are We Ready to Listen from Mark Thibault with a description. So you could let Mark know of your interest in that. And somewhere around here, I believe, we have the one about trees as well. And if it's not visible, I'll make sure it's up here shortly. There's also the invitation to form home groups, which we're just beginning to activate. Oh, here it is down here. Yeah, leading students to their environmental roots by exploring trees. So again, this is a nice feature on the map. If you click on the white space, you get to this general info about the map, and here's the link to get to that entities view. One other thing I want to note before I wrap this up is around the gift economy element of the Now What Global Gathering. There's a little bit about this here under the Participate tab on the home page. So over the course of Now What, there's a pool of financial gifts as well as various offers of non-financial support that are being gathered and distributed in order to nourish those of us who are bringing this gathering to you, as well as people doing work out in the world that supports healing, transformation, regeneration, and restoration. We're using the Open Collective platform. There's a link to that here where you can make financial contributions. If it's a larger contribution, then it's best to do that directly, and you can let us know about that through info@nowwhat2020.com. Just wanted to note that we have $302 in contributions that have already come in, and then through the registration process, 17 people have pledged a total of $1,378. So we have an estimated budget so far of $1,680 to work with. And I want to encourage those of you who have made those pledges to follow through and actually contribute that funding. And those of you who are not sure whether or not to do this, or perhaps are hearing about this for the first time, to consider making a financial gift to Now What. There's an enormous amount of work that's going into what has already taken place and what is yet to come. I'm particularly thinking of all the energy surfacing around this Earth Day gathering, which could be a very powerful offering out to the wider world. And to the extent that people who are about to commit lots of time into doing this, or who have already committed so generously to hosting engagement streams and calls and whatnot, to know that there's some financial support available to them in return for doing that work really can make a difference. And so I encourage you to offer that as generously as you are able. And that being said, there is no requirement to do so, or even to register to participate in Now What. One other thing to note in relation to this financial dimension is that this is something that any member of the Now What collective is invited to participate in. And under the About tab here, you can see some information about collective members. We've been having a number of conversations among people who have decided they wanted to be members or have indicated through their registration an interest in being a member of the collective. You can see the names of the folks who've said yes already here on the Now What collective members page. I think we're getting up to well into the 40s in terms of those numbers. And here's the general invitation to that. And if you haven't taken note of this element and you're interested in that, this is the way that you can participate in the in the allocation of the financial resources that come in, including receiving some of those yourself. And so if you're interested in this, you can request an invitation conversation at Now What, info@nowwhat2020.com. The link is right there. So thanks again for your attention and your participation and your interest. Even taking a moment to listen to this is a gift, as is everything in Now What. And those gifts are manifesting in beautiful ways thus far. And I look forward to seeing what is yet to come as we move into the second half of this global gathering.